I came through, but I made it. And that was the third time I avoided being murdered by a cannibal. So, hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris. This is part 4, Frederick the Great to Silesian. I'm never going to pronounce that right. Even if I get it right, I still don't know if I'm right. To Silesian Wars. I mean, what do you want from me? I'm American. I'm not supposed to get it right. I'm supposed to be stupid. I need everyone out there to go get yourself one of these. The orange. It's as they say in Spanish, delicioso. Or whatever language it is, I have no idea. There's a remote just fell for no reason at all. Cheers to you. Let's get into the video. Oh yeah, like, subscribe. If you like and subscribe, you get more of those if I keep drinking. I might be an alcoholic. I don't think I am. Probably, though, yeah. So let's get in with the video. Battle of Soor?
They had been playing cat and mouse for months. The Prussian army under King Frederick II had been watching the Habsburg army commanded by Prince Charles of Lorraine. They recently set up camp nearby the small village of Burkersdorf. Much to Charles's surprise, the Prussians did not seize notable elevations in the region. Capitalizing on this momentary lack of defenses, Charles knew he would be able to ambush the significantly outsized Prussians. Under the cover of mist and darkness, Austrian and Saxon infantry and cavalry emerged from the dense Königreich forest.
And I'm just going to say this, Lorraine, with the last video, he got really he got handled. So this guy really has a vendetta against Frederick. I'm going to go out on a limb there. But it's a pretty strong limb for me to walk on because it seems like these two just really hate each other. And by that, I mean that guy really hates Frederick. Most people probably do because Frederick was just the guy you couldn't trust. He's just a terrible person.
They were ready for the battle, even though their adversaries had no idea it was imminent.
That's what happened last time.
In the aftermath of the Battle of Hohenfried.
That's what happened last time. Frederick... I didn't do anything. Frederick,
TikTok made me do it. If you use TikTok, you might have seen videos like these recently claiming that the combination of L-tyrosine and B vitamins is like a...
I didn't, actually.
Of the Battle of Hohenfried.
I was just going to say, Frederick snuck up on him. And I think I just said this. Sorry, I've been drinking. Frederick snuck up on him on the last one, and now he's trying to sneak up on Frederick. But I think Frederick kind of knows it's happening because he's been spying on him. So.
Frederick showered his army with praise. In revealing letters, he wrote, "The army, cavalry and infantry, and hussars have never so distinguished themselves, and how everyone and his brothers fought like lions for their country." He was also optimistic about the results from Hohenfriedberg. To his ministers, he wrote that the victory will bring us good peace and a long rest. He would soon find out that was far from the truth. But he did have a good reason to think Maria Theresa wanted to sue for peace. The Habsburgs suffered defeats in Italy and Flanders. Their allies were growing tired of the war. Meanwhile, Frederick began capitalizing on his success somewhat by advancing onto Königgrätz. The Austrians and Saxons retreated to the city south to a solid defensive position. When
my internet needs
Frederick
to catch up.
Set up camp to the north, both encampments could keep an eye on each other. But both Frederick and Prince Charles of Lorraine kept it at that and did not engage in any battle. Over summer, Frederick feigned some movements to unnerve Charles, while some generals rooted out the Hungarian hussars behind their lines in Silesia. But being this far south, Frederick's supply lines were stretched. Still, he considered himself an observation army, keeping the Austrians at bay. Throughout the weeks encamped there, he had to send off multiple detachments of soldiers to deal with small Austrian vanguard raiding parties to his north and to his west. The majority of his army, albeit slinking, remained dormant. Prince Ferdinand of Brunswick's letters reveal what he thought of Austria's strategy. They have wounded 2 of our people with their muskets while hiding like thieves and robbers behind trees and not showing themselves in the open, as becomes proper soldiers.
What were they, early Americans? What's going on?
British attempts to broker peace weren't fruitful. They wanted the war on the European mainland to end, but Maria Theresa was livid after the defeat at Hohenfriedberg. She sent Khevenhüller on a diplomatic mission to convince Duke Weissenfels to continue the fight against Prussia. Defeating Prussia remained the top priority. To augment the weakened Austrian army in Bohemia, Maria Theresa sent many reinforcements to Charles. 10 battalions of infantry, a corps of cavalry, and 2 senior commanders.
Wow.
Thanks to these reinforcements, Charles's army soon numbered over 40,000 again. In contrast, Frederick continued sending detachments of soldiers to other regions where reinforcements were required. His main force was slinking fast. By late July, Frederick decided to move. He set up his camp north of the small village of Burkersdorf. Considering himself just an observation army, perhaps that's how he lulled himself into a false sense of security. Letters reveal the king was already planning to return to Berlin in winter to oversee the continued construction of his palace, Sanssouci. But international developments hinted at Maria Theresa not being eager to give up the fight, especially because her husband had recently been crowned Holy Roman Emperor. And Charles too had different plans. First, he followed Frederick and set up camp close by, overlooking Burkersdorf and the Prussian camp from a hilltop. Then, after some hesitation, he decided his position was perfect for an ambush. The dense Königreich forest provided cover, while the hills ensured they would have the higher ground. On a foggy and damp early morning, September 30th, 1745, Charles and his army marched through the hilly Königreich forest to reach the flank of the encamped Prussians. He noticed the Prussians had not captured the Granerkoppe Hill, the dominant terrain feature in the region. That night, several Saxon and Austrian vanguard units took up their positions on the hills overseeing Burkersdorf.
I just want to say, if you're Lorraine, don't you think that last time you got lured in? If they're giving you this high ground, do you question it? Do you think, okay, we'll put some guys up here, but what am I walking into again? Because if you walk into another trap, then you're just stupid. No offense, but if you walk into another trap again, it's not your people who are stupid, as he said in the last one. It's the leader.
In the Prussian camp. Then, in the early morning hours, the Saxons and the Austrians emerged from the thick woodlands. On the Granerkoppe, Charles positioned 10 battalions of musketeers, 15 companies of grenadiers, 30 squadrons of cuirassiers and dragoons, 15 companies of elite carabineers, and mounted grenadiers, and 16 heavy guns pointed at the Prussians. It was a significant force for sure, but even more soldiers of the main army were positioned to the south of them. As the first Austrians emerged from the woodlands, Prussian guards called on and rushed to headquarters to inform Frederick. As Frederick was holding the 5 a.m. meeting with his generals, he received the news of Charles's army approaching. Frederick immediately jumped on his horse and rode past his army encampment, ordering the drummers and trumpets to sound the alarm. Thoroughly drilled, the Prussian infantry and cavalry rapidly took their positions. Letters from the French envoy after the battle reveal he was surprised at each regiment's speed, discipline, and initiative to take their positions without receiving specific orders. Despite this, the Austrian army numbered nearly twice as many soldiers, 40,200, against Prussia's 22,000. Still, the outnumbered Prussians managed to deploy parallel to the Austrians. Frederick didn't have much time to form his plans, but his rough sketch was as follows. He wanted his cavalry on the right to circle the Granerkoppe and flank the Austrians and Saxons on the hill. Meanwhile, the infantry would attack straight against the units on the Granerkoppe. The remainder of the army had to keep the rest of the Austrians and Saxons at bay without engaging in combat. By 8 a.m. the mist mostly dissolved, upon which the Austrian artillery on the Graner Koppe opened their fire. Simultaneously, Frederick gave the general order to his army to advance against the Austrian positions. The cavalry on the right faced the brunt of the damage. They were the vanguard after all. The artillery scored some significant hits against them, but they managed to push through and emerge on the Austrian left flank. A letter written by a Prussian officer reveals, "Our cavalry withstood this ordeal with composure that was all the more admirable when you consider that the enemy bombs frequently landed in the middle of the squadrons, carrying away 8 or 10 horses at once.
Holy
After
crap.
every explosion, the troopers collected themselves, filled the gaps, and continued their march with swords in hand. Circumventing the mound, the Prussian squadrons reached a narrow passage leading to an access point of the Graner Koppe. The surprised Austrian cavalry protecting the left did not launch a charge, as they remained stationary. The stationary Austrians suffered the brunt of the charging Prussian cavalry. Confused fighting followed, but the Austrians ended up being pushed back into the forest. Seeing their cavalry in disarray, several Austrian infantry units opened fire, and localized melees broke out between the infantry and the cavalry. All the while, the Prussian...
Dude, that cavalry is straight balls to the wall. They don't care. That's... I mean, look, I gotta say it. If you're this guy right here, you just watched your people get defeated by them, and you're thinking, shit.
Infantry marched on. On the Prussian right, the Anhalt Grenadier Regiment, marching directly against the Graner Koppe, reached the foot of the hill and began climbing. They were met with extreme resistance, both by artillery and musket fire. Without inflicting any damage against the Austrians, many Prussians fell. Among the casualties was Prince Albert of Brunswick, Frederick's brother-in-law. The Austrians cried out, "Es lebe Maria Theresa!" They caused mounting deaths among the grenadiers. Their first attack was repelled, with some units losing up to 3/4 of their men. The second attack was more successful. This time, the Geist Grenadier Regiment and 2 regiments of musketeers tried scaling the hill. Thanks to poor positioning by the Austrians on the slope, the artillery was unable to fire at the Prussians. Brief but savage fighting ensued on top of the hill before the Prussians drove the Austrians from it. The Prussian infantry and cavalry holding the other side of Burkersdorf received...
I just want to say, somebody, Alexander, a viewer, made a comment today. It's Monday, August 1st, so if you're watching my videos, I'm talking about you. You made a comment about how Alexander the Great, which I believe to this minute, that person is Alexander the Great, and they visiting the channel and just saying hi. But they said, isn't it impressive how Alexander the Great conquered so much land? I have a point. And they said Alexander the Great conquered so much territory, and he did it basically, you know, marching. His soldiers marched, and there was horseback. And it's like, yeah, it is. But even stuff like this is impressive to me, because these people are on horseback and they're on foot. You know, they're not in tanks. They don't have the modern weapons. So, like, I mean, going back even to the Civil War, the American Civil War and stuff like that, these people, if they wanted to get from point A to point B, they had to use their feet if they weren't on a horse. And it's just, it is so impressive. It's not even impressive. It's beyond impressive. It's so willing to sacrifice your life for whatever it is you believe that you're for your country. And just watching these people rush in from Frederick the Great, it's just like I'm in awe. Even in Austria as well, watching their people fight. I'm just in awe of that. It's just something that's just amazing to me, because we have so much advantage now over then, as I'm sure 2240 will be looking back at the actions of 2220, 2220, 24. Let me say that. Let me try that again. 2220 will be looking back on 2020, if I even said that properly the first time, and they'll think, oh, why didn't they have skateboards that had protective shields on them that fired missiles or something like that? You know, that's crazy. Why didn't they have Iron Man suits that would fly around and just fire missiles out of them? Technology just advances at such a rate. I take my hat off to the people who went through this, because it's. I apologize. It's the fan. Here you go. It's a fan. But yeah, I take my hat off to these people, because it's just such a, it's unfathomable in a way to. But then again, sorry, I think I yelled. I apologize. Then again, if you're in the 1740, 1745, you obviously don't know. You're looking back at something like Alexander the Great, and you're thinking, oh, look at that. They walked through the desert, and they did this, and they were carrying giant shields. We don't have to do that. We have muskets. They had swords. So, I mean, everything is relatable to time. But, like, I just look back, obviously, with hindsight, I just look back, and I'm just amazed that we used to wage war this way. It's just, I don't know if I'm wording it properly, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So back to the video.
Explicit orders not to engage the Austrians. Instead, they were to remain steady and prevent the Austrian right flank from running to support the left. But as the battle progressed on the Prussian right, the left slowly began moving onto the Austrian lines. It is unknown why.
How are they to prevent this unit from sliding to the right? Now, obviously, the right is this way, but I'm going to guess when you're looking at them, the right would be this way. So if they start seeing units move this way, I'm guessing that's when they charge, to then bring them back to hold, so that they don't get, so that this unit doesn't come in and flank them. I'm just guessing. If I understand it properly. You guys are smart, man. You guys understand what I'm saying. Most of you answer the questions, and I don't even know how I asked them. I don't even know what that meant.
They advanced, although it is for certain this was contrary to their official orders. Led by Prince Ferdinand of Brunswick, the Prussians engaged in skirmishes. As time progressed, these skirmishes evolved into a full charge by the Prussian left. The frontal charge against the Austrian infantry led to savage, fierce combat with the cavalry. The Austrian cavalry remained stationary and did not support their infantry through all this. Their lack of initiative allowed the Prussian cavalry to seize 850 Austrian prisoners. Meanwhile, in the background, disaster struck the Prussians, but not in the way.
Why didn't the Austrian cavalry that was there, why didn't they move in to help? Anyone have any ideas, or will it be mentioned later? Because that's, you know what? Maybe Lorraine was right. His people were stupid. Okay.
They might have expected. Because as the fighting continued on every front, a few Hungarian hussars and Croatian panduras did not feel like fighting. General Nadashdy and Colonel Baron von Trenck led their men straight towards the Prussian camp behind the Prussian lines. The lack of able defenders made it easy pickings. They easily killed the few defenders remaining at the camp, and then they ransacked it. They came across Frederick's tent and the war chest. Reportedly, the war chest was filled with up to 80,000 ducats, but they stole all valuables they could find and carry, seizing over 1 million ducats worth of items and belongings. Among the loot was anything from table silver to linen cloths to snuff boxes to even Frederick's flutes and his dog. But although they were plundering the camp in the background, their allies likely could have used them in the battle line instead, because by noon the Austrians and Saxons deteriorated into a rout into the Königreich forest. It appeared the massively outnumbered Prussians managed to fight them on both lines and emerge victorious. Despite this relatively simple battle sequence, the battle was an incredibly bloody and savagely fought affair. The casualties indeed mounted.
I just want to say, I'm sorry for pausing. The soldiers in that cavalry should have helped their guys. Yes, they were stupid. But you have two commanders that were like, nah, we don't want to get into any of that fighting thing. We just want to loot. And then after that looting, they probably just took off and went home. So I got to say, to that Lorraine, you had a lot of stupid people. And doesn't look good for you, because they were under your command. So, yeah.
Total, the Prussians suffered 3,911 casualties, of whom 856 died. Frederick's brother-in-law, Duke Albrecht of Brunswick, was among the dead. It is very telling of Frederick's poor marriage quality, for he did not even write his wife a letter of condolence.
Jeez.
The Austrian and Saxon casualties numbered 7,444. In the aftermath, Frederick tried to launch a pursuit, but the forest, hills, and lack of coordination among his troops prevented any significant follow-up. He later wrote about this. My cavalry came to a halt not far short of the enemy rearguard. I hastened up and shouted, Marsch, vorwärts, drauf. I was greeted with Vivat Victoria and a prolonged chorus of cries. Again I called out, Marsch, and again nobody wanted to move. I lost my temper, I struck out with my stick and fist, and I swore. And I think I know how to swear when I'm angry, but I could do nothing to bring my cavalrymen one step forward. They were drunk with joy and did not hear me. He described the battle as terrible but glorious and the fiercest of the four he had fought. He remarked,
So his guys just decided they were done? And he couldn't bring them to fight? If I'm understanding that correctly?
It had been bloodier than Hohenfriedberg. He also recognized the shrewdness of the Austrians, complimenting Charles on his initially thought-out strategy. It was thanks to Frederick's soldiers' discipline, the thinking on his feet, and the courage in the face of aversion that Soor did not become a bloodbath. Oh, and he wrote a letter to his wife after multiple complaints about his cruel behavior. It translates roughly to, he was a brave man. I'm amazed he wasn't killed long ago. The French envoy remarked that at Hohenfriedberg he fought.
What? He was a brave man. I'm surprised he wasn't. Okay. You could take that as he's always in the fight, or you could take it as, yeah, he's a brave guy because he's stupid and he doesn't know any better. That's how I take it, at least. Wow.
Fought for Silesia, but at Soor he fought for his life. But despite this significant success in battle so far, danger still loomed for Frederick, and it would arrive much sooner than he anticipated.
Damn. This is good. I have to do a Belisarius, which is also good. I'm really digging the... Okay. I don't know why you... What is...
Lately, I've been waking up in the
I
middle.
hit the pause button. What is happening? Sorry. I'm gonna do a Belisarius video number 4. That's my I don't know face. Just go with it. Yeah. I gotta do a Belisarius video, but I kind of want to do another Frederick the Great video. This is getting better and better. I'm really digging this. You know, when I started, I just want to, this is just me talking. Feel free, you could end the video if you want, if you don't want to hear me. I understand, I get it. Sorry. Back in April, March, April, my channel started soaring. And then it hit this lull in May. And I actually lost subscribers. Which is, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you hit and miss. It is what it is. And then I decided to kind of turn my channel away from what I was doing and did a video about World War I and found Epic History TV, basically. And I had like, it was like 84 subscribers. And then I think in May I went from like 84 to maybe 92, and I would gain 2, lose 1, gain 1, lose 4. It was just back and forth. And then June hit, and that was when I went on the World War I, which is now where I am today. World War I, Russian history, the Decemberists. The Decemberists is one of my favorite videos. I apologize in advance because I don't remember who requested it. I'm going to say Panda just because you seem to request a lot of videos like this. And I just got on this voyage, and I love history. I mean, everyone loves history. I'm more of an American history guy, but there's just so much of this stuff that I wish I was taught in school. But I'm not. I'm taught a lot of American stuff. And I'm taught a lot of American myths, frankly, you know, about George Washington. You know, oh, he threw a stone. He didn't chop down a cherry tree. Or he chopped down a cherry tree. He told no lies. He never chopped down a cherry tree. Cherry tree, that's like, you just chop down someone's profit. It's like chopping down an apple tree kind of thing. Like, no, you wouldn't do that. You cost someone money. Or he never told a lie. Of course he did. Nathan Hale, if you know anything about American history, you'll know that the thing that Nathan Hale supposedly, and this is supposedly said, is it's a shame that I only had one life to give for my country. Something to that effect. I apologize. I don't remember it right offhand. No, that was a George Washington narrative. Nathan Hale's actual language, and I don't know it verbatim, but it was something to the effect of, please don't hang me, shoot me. And then like after that it was like, you know, tell my mother I love her. That was it. And they changed it. Yeah, okay. They changed the narrative of his death to make other people like, oh, look at what he did. But it's still a lie. He was in charge of the Culper spy ring. You're not in charge of the spy ring if you're going to be telling the truth. If your people are caught, like, oh, please admit the truth because I'm an honest person. No! Like, of course he told lies. But, you know, I love American history. And I didn't realize I loved it until I was like 34. 16, I meant to say. Because, you know, obviously I'm 18 now. But, I mean, it's like, I just got on this journey. And I love it. I come home from work, tough day of work, and I know I'm going to drink a couple beers. More than a couple, and I'm gonna watch a video about Frederick the Great or about the Decemberists. Again, still one of my favorite videos, both of them. I tell you the truth, I would do a reaction video again to them. That's how happy I am to watch those videos. The history of Russia, I thought was fantastic, minus any of the Russian talk today. You know what's going on? Nothing to do with that. These videos, Alexander the Great, Napoleon. How can I forget Napoleon? These videos have, I come home from work And it could be a bad day, but I look forward to these videos. I look forward to drinking a couple beers, more than a couple. And making videos. And in a way, I'm happy. Like I say, I had like 84 subscribers, went up to 92. I was back and forth. But in 2 months, I've gained, I went from 90, I'll say, to like 195, 193, 94, 95. I'm gaining subscribers, and I'm doing videos that I think are awesome. So, I apologize to some people if I'm not doing your videos. My channel was so much different when I started. But that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate what I have. I know that eventually some of you will fall off because I'm not doing the same things. It is what it is. I understand that. But I love doing this. This is fun. These videos, this is fun. And these aren't videos that I would probably watch normally because I wouldn't know about. So I appreciate all the people who tell me, hey, because you did this, maybe you'll like this. I do. By the way, someone has recommended a video for me to get back into the Geography India. I have that request. It's another video I'll jump into, I swear. This has just been a great journey. And I'm really enjoying it. And I appreciate all the people who watch. And I appreciate all the people who request things. And you know, I'm trying to do them. But at the same time, I'm also trying to stay true to what I'm really interested in. So I apologize for this. I don't know if you'd call this a drunken tirade. I'm not drunk. But I do appreciate it. I really do. This is truly fun. And it's fun to know that I come home from work, I sit down for 2 hours, I make videos, and then when I upload them in the morning, like, I'm happy. I'm happy with the reaction. I'm going to end this here. I do apologize. I don't know what you would call this, but I'm going to jump into Belosaurus video 4. Ooh, maybe I'll just stick with the Frederick, because I'm on a roll. I'm going to stick with the Frederick, because yeah. I'll jump into Belosaurus tomorrow. None of this matters to you, but I'm telling you because I appreciate it. So I'm going to end this here. Have a good day. Have a good night.